Hello everyone. Welcome back to Swigs Talks Football. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you are all well this evening on a Friday evening, and are set, feet back, relaxed, all set for this weekend's game of football. So, with that in mind, we're going to kick things off with this video being our weekly predictions for this week's fixtures coming up. So if that sounds good, drop a thumbs up. Let me know what you think of the predictions that we come up with that I have I give my 2 cents on, and let me know in the comment section below. And if you're new here, drop a thumbs up, hit the subscribe with the wonky thumb. And yeah, for more, let's get into it. So we kick things off with Friday night football. With it is Leeds versus Nottingham Forest. Now, both sides looking to kick on. As we've said, Leeds looking really strong so far in the season. I think it's fair to say they've been looking really good. Nottingham Forest looking a bit kind of wishy-washy almost, with how they're doing. So be interesting to see how they get on. In this one, I do see it being a good, actual, equal enough game. I think, however, with Ellen Road, Leeds have been looking really, really strong this season. So I think that will add to the atmosphere as it always does every week. And with that being said, I do think Leeds will probably have enough to get the win on the day. So I'm going to go for this. I'm going to go for 2-1 to Leeds United. Hopefully a DCL brace for the fantasy. Next up, we have the 12 o'clock kickoff against, or not against, for my beloved Tottenham, my beloved Spurs against Manchester United. Now, United, who, if I remember last week out, yes, they played Fulham in that absolute cracking 3-2 game against Fulham. Um, I thought it was brilliant. I watched it. It was a savage game. It was really, really good. United look like they've been just gone from first gear with Ammer into almost fifth gear with Michael Carrick now in charge. They've looked really strong, really sharp going forward. Defensively, they've looked um okay, I would say. Obviously, leaking 2 goals against Fulham, but with one of those goals being an absolute wonder goal from Kevin outside the box, that's no keeper saving that on any day of the week. So United looking really good, really strong going forward. Bring the likes of Cunha off the bench. He's really having a huge impact for Carrick. I've actually quite impressed with Casemiro even as well. I think he's been doing well also, as well as your likes of Bruno Fernandes and Mbeumo as well, contributing going forward as well. That being said, I think the opposite can be said for Spurs, who last week out we faced Man City in 2-all draw. We drew 2-all with them, I should say. First half, diabolical, absolutely shambles. Fans were leaving the stadium. Fans were just not happy with how we were playing at all. We make one change. Romero comes off. Papasar comes on. We bossed the middle of the park. We bossed the attack. We bossed the defence. City could not get out of their own shadows. We had every single one of them in our back pockets. We were absolutely on point. The passes were being intricate. Xavi Simons looked like he was auditioning for a contract at a Real Madrid or Barcelona or someone. He looked really, really sharp. His technical skills were a lot more quicker, a lot more sharper. So hopefully that can, that's the sign of things to come now, so that when it comes to now the likes of tomorrow's game against United, we can kick on and we can go for, we can actually start putting in a full 90 minutes performance as opposed to just the second half, excuse me, performance. So hopefully now with that, we'll see, will remains to be seen. Obviously, in my last video, like I touched on with Spurs' transfer window, we haven't brought in anyone else, bar Sousa and Conor Gallagher, as well as the young lad from James Wilson from Hearts, but he's gone straight to the 21s. So we don't really have anyone else to be looking at. We've 13 players available and fit. I don't think that bodes us too well at all going into this game against a red hot Red Devil. So with that being said, I am confident Spurs might get a result. I think. I don't actually think they will. I'm confident. Maybe it's because I'm, blissful, blindfold optimism. I would love Spurs to get a result, but I don't think so. That they're actually I think they're actually going to struggle with United at home, and I think United are going to tip it. I originally had it for 2-2, but now I'm actually saying I think that Spurs will struggle to break United down, and I think they're going to struggle with United's attack. So I'm going to go with a United 2-1 win for them, which will mount even more pressure on Thomas Frank and more pressure on the squad, and rightfully so, if that result does happen. But let me know your thoughts on Spurs game. Do you think am I off? Am I giving too much credit to Simmons? Am I giving not enough credit to maybe the likes of Romero or Papisar coming off on the bench? Let me know your thoughts down below. Next up we have Bournemouth and Villa. This should be a really good game, I think. I think Bournemouth have looked really well in the last couple of weeks that I've seen them. I think they've done decent going forward. I have always said, but I really do think the likes of Tavernier and to a lesser extent Alex Scott, I think they just without them, I think if you remove those two from Bournemouth, I think they really struggle to even kick on. You had the likes of Krupi Jr. now as well, who last week was extremely must like goal poaching, extremely clinical. That would be said, extremely clinical last week out. And so yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they go up against a robust, tough Villa side. Villa they kind of seem to be going off a little bit with the likes of that title challenge. It kind of, results have not been going their way in the last maybe 3 to 4 weeks. So will this be a turnaround for them? I see so. I see that they will. I do think Villa will do that. I think Villa will have enough to get over the line against Bournemouth, and so I'm going to go with a Villa 2-1 victory for them. Also worth noting, and think that something that I seen only yesterday was the likes of John Duran going to Zenit. If you remember, he used to play for Aston Villa, but then went out to Saudi. He's now gone on loan to Zenit St. Petersburg in Russia at only 22 years old. The kid has traveled so much already at such a young age. And from reports, Spurs were in for him as well. But I don't think, no, it wasn't that he refused. Spurs, they looked at him but decided to opt against going for a John Duran and sticking with a Kolo Muani. Make that make sense in anyone's head. Make that make sense. But that's neither here nor there. Next up, we have Arsenal versus the mighty Sunderland. So, obviously, Granit Xhaka returning home to London, where he spent a couple of years with the North London side in red. Arsenal have been looking very strong, as it seems to be the tail of the tape. Arsenal have been looking very strong. Sunderland have looked weak enough, I do think, away from home. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle the pressure at the Emirates. That being said, I think Arsenal they've too much quality up top, too much quality in midfield. They've just too much quality as a whole for them to not win this game. So I'm going to go for an Arsenal 3-2 win on that. Simple, straight out. Next up, we have a battle of relegation teams with Burnley, West Ham. West Ham were extremely unlucky, I think. Probably shot themselves in the foot a little bit against Chelsea last week out where they, go 2-0 up at half time. You cannot lose the game at 2-0 up at half time, in my opinion. You sit 11 men all behind the ball and just booted up the field for the next 45 minutes to get that 3 points. West Ham didn't do that, and they ultimately lost 3-2 in the dying end of the game to Chelsea. That being said, I think that their West Ham that will actually galvanise them. West Ham have looked in the past even 3 or 4 weeks. They have looked a lot more cohesive, a lot more clinical in front of goal. They've created a lot more chances, and I think that that's going to continue to show against Burnley then to see or Burnley tomorrow evening. Whereas Burnley, look, they're going down. They're just not as clinical. Not they didn't do much, if any, business in January to help solidify or to help their position further in the Premier League. So I think they're unfortunately again. I think Scott Parker will be relegated with Burnley, and as a result, obviously, I think that will coincide with them not putting in maybe a good enough performance tomorrow against West Ham, and I think the West Ham are going to win 2-1. So that is that. Next up, we Fulham and Everton. Obviously, that's last week out. Fulham were unlucky to lose against United, scored two great goals. especially the Kevin one. Kevin one was just savage. It was just absolutely brilliant. And they host Everton, who they've kind of not been doing the best in my opinion. Everton, they've been dropping points where I think, geez, they should be picking up some points there. And this is one of the games where I think they should be picking up points. They should, in theory. I think Everton have a better squad, maybe than Fulham. However, with Fulham's home record and the fact of their such good performance that they put in away at United, I think that will translate to this home performance. And I'm actually going to go with a Fulham 2-1 win against Everton tomorrow. Next up, we've Wolves and Chelsea. Wolves, obviously, they've lost now. They've lost Strand Larson, who's going to move to Palace. They'll be looking to try and see where can they get the goals from. If the youngster in Mane, who's been looking like the one bright spark of their entire season, can he chip in with the goals? Can the likes of Andre or João Gomez from midfield, can they start putting some goals in? I forget the two lads up top. Forgive me. Their names. The big 6 foot. Is he 6'4", 6'5" striker for Wolves? I forget his names, but maybe they can start getting the ball maybe into him, whipping the balls in, maybe more crosses to try and focus him as a target man. They obviously host Chelsea, who showed great resilience, in fairness, and determination to get over the line last week out against um who were they against? Chelsea or against West Ham, sorry, last week out, and then obviously they couldn't get over the line then. Oh, excuse me. Oh, they couldn't get over the line in the week against Arsenal. It was a 0-0 draw. They didn't really threaten really too much, to be perfectly honest. It was kind of a little bit of a lackluster performance for them, but I'd see Chelsea just having too much for Wolves, so I'm going to go with them for 3-1. Simple out. Next up, we go to Newcastle Brentford. I see this good game, treat kind of main things. Good battle in the defence, I think, between the likes of Voltemada and then the likes of Nathan Collins. I think that'd be really interesting. Going forward, Newcastle on paper should have more of a threat, but Brentford have been more clinical. And last but not least, I think Eddie Howe needs to win this game. I think he needs to, he was asked about in today's presser. He was asked about whether or not he could step away in the summer from Newcastle. Maybe that's something that the board are looking at. I would snatch Eddie Howe up in a heartbeat if I could. I think he's a brilliant coach, brilliant manager, and I think he would do really, really well with us, with Spurs. That being said, I think that this game is a really big test for them. Brentford are not an easy side, as they have shown this season. They are as good as home as they nearly are away. So it'd be really interesting. A tough test for the Geordies, a tough test for Brentford, which is probably ultimately why I'm going to go with a Desmond 2-all draw. And that. Next up, then we have the Sunday. We have a local derby between Brighton and Palace. Look, Palace seem to they've splurged over nearly 100 million. It was going to nearly be 100 million with the signing of Dwight McNeil from Everton, which I didn't even know was a thing. But they have but ultimately that fell short. That deal didn't get over the line. But they do have the likes of Strand Larson now coming in for a club record fee of nearly 50 million quid. Their second club record fee signing in Brennan Johnson, so we'll hope to look and kick on. And you have the likes of Jeremy Pino, Ismaili Sarr, Warren Hughes, like they seem to be doing okay in terms of replacing outgoings. Palace have done, obviously Mateta now, he had his failed medical with Palace, or not with Palace, sorry, with AC Milan. So we'll have to see. Like he's obviously out with injury due to his knee. So we'll see now. Will it be a debut? I imagine so for Strand Larson. And to see whether or not he can kick on in that system for Glasgow. Um, that being said, I do think Palace will struggle against Brighton. I think Brighton at home will have more of the ball. I think that they will do probably better than Palace in and out of possession, which is ultimately why I'm going to go for a 2-1 win for Brighton, for the Seagulls on that. Final game of the weekend, before we kick off into the Tuesday games, which will be coming up in the next video. I'll say, as I think this video will be too long otherwise, so we'll just keep it short as it can be for each game week, and we go for New Liverpool against Man City. Now, both sides need the win. City need it, I believe, in order to try and put some bit more pressure on Arsenal. Liverpool need it, I think, in order to get to galvanise the players, in order to get to try to challenge for the top four positions. The title's done for Liverpool, in my opinion, but it's not done for Man City. That being said, I think both teams will have a go at it. They both are well endowed with history of how each other play. I think City need to win more, which is ultimately why I'm going to give them just that edge. I do think it's going to be an entertaining game. I'm probably hoping it is because with the other fixtures, there are some really good ones to keep an eye out for. The likes of the United Spurs one, obviously. I think that's going to be a really good game. I do think Liverpool, Newcastle Brentford game, but I also think then the final three, if I had to put three to watch, it would be those and Liverpool Man City on Sunday. I think that's going to be a really entertaining game. Really hope it is. I hope it's not going to be just a nil all or a 1-0 here and there like a snatch and grab. I hope that both teams go for it, try their best, try and nick the opposition's defense on the counter and stuff, and have a really good go for it. That being said, I am going to go for Man City 3-2 win on that. I think City will just have enough going forward. I think Haaland, he's been looking shy a little bit. He's had the rest kind of, well, about 70 minutes of a rest anyways, midweek where the City just battered Newcastle to bits. Marmoush is coming back, from AFCON, got 2 goals against Newcastle, looked really sharp, although one was a fluke in a way, his first one. So it'd be interesting to see now, will he start maybe Marmoush, Haaland and Foden, or will he go Sharky, Foden even in the middle, Haaland up top, Semenyo on the left. It'd be interesting to see how Pep lines up against Liverpool, who, as we know, they are struggling with injuries, especially in right back. They tried to get Gertrude from Sunderland, that didn't work. So it'd be interesting to see how. I probably would imagine Szoboszlai goes in there, and then maybe Curtis Jones goes in the midfield, partner McAllister and Gravenberch, with then Ekitike, who's been firing in the goals for the last couple of weeks, looking really, really strong ever since he dyed that hair blonde. So maybe the key is to keep the hair dyed blonde, and he could get 20 goals this season. Who knows? But that being said, 3-2 Man City, I think they'll come out on top with all 3 points. So yeah, that's it really. That's my predictions for this week's game week. Let me know your thoughts down below. As I said at the start of the video, give me a thumbs up for the wonky thumbs. If you would mind, that would be much appreciated. So it would. Let me know your thoughts down below, your own fixtures of your teams, who they playing, how you think they're going to get on. Is there any players to keep an eye out? Maybe there's some certain players that I haven't touched on that you feel like, oh, well, do you know what? So that's actually some player that might be a good player to keep an eye out this week, or that's who I think could get a goal, could get a brace, could get, a hat trick, who knows, or could even get sent off, you know. But yeah, let me know all of those thoughts down below in the comments section below. And yeah, I hope you all have a good weekend. Hopefully the footy goes well. Hopefully Spurs get all 3 points. If not, prepare to see some more usual YouTube outrage at why Frank is wrong for the job, the board are rubbish, and the players are just not fighting for the badge. So yeah, lovely stuff to look forward to if we lose a game. But like I said now at the start of the video, thank you so much for interacting with us all. If I didn't say it, I apologize. Thank you so much for interacting with the videos, for watching them, and for engaging with them. So have a good weekend, a good weekend. That's what I meant to say. And yeah, we will see you hopefully for the predictions on maybe Monday. I should hopefully have a video of that by then for us because we are against Newcastle Tuesday, so that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, anyways, thanks very much for watching. Hope you have a nice weekend, and come on, you Spurs. Let's get those 3 points at Old Trafford. Let's go.